Hey guys, and today we're going to be talking about the two different types of judging people. Number one is judging people in the aspect slash context of belittling them and thinking that you're better than them and saying negative comments on what they do. And then the other type of judging people, which is significantly better, is judging people so they can improve and succeed, and you call out their flaws to help them rather than to bring them down. And it's actually biblical, and we're allowed to do the second one. Okay, so the verse to back righteous judgment up is, if you'd like to follow along, is Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 to 5. Do not judge so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take the speck out of your eye, while the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite. First, take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. Now, I'm going to be honest, this can be confusing because there's a lot of logs, a lot of specks, and a lot of eyes mentioned in this. But to break it down, what it's saying, if you have a log stuck in your eye, it's going to be pretty big, like you're going to be pretty blind in that eye, right? But if you had a tiny little speck, you'd be able to see pretty well. So think of the log as someone who is unaware of their morals or surroundings or is unconscious of what they're doing. And then they see someone with a speck in their eye, which would be a way smaller flaw than having a log in your eye. So it's saying evaluate yourself and do a self-assessment and see, am I really in the place to judge someone else? Who am I to judge them? Now, you can also look at it in the way where if you are the person with the speck and you see someone else with the log, meaning you see someone who's doing something significantly worse than you and you're not hypocritical about it after your self-assessment, it's okay to call someone out for what they do if your intention is to genuinely help them rather than to bring them down and make them feel sad. But I don't recommend going up to a random person who you see doing something very sinful that you don't know very well and just calling them out and convicting them. Because typically what happens is it's a bad look for the Christian person because in their eyes they see a crazy psychopath coming up to them saying like, oh, you're evil, you can't do that, which even if you are convicting someone, those are not the words you use. But you also have to be careful on who you say it to. Like, for example, the only people I've convicted or called out are people I'm close to, like close family and friends, and it's people who I know would prefer to hear the truth rather than comforting lies. So to summarize, if your idea of judgment is to call someone out and convict them for what they're doing for reasons to genuinely help them and to see them succeed, then you are not a bad person. You are not committing a sin. You're doing it for the good, like the right reason. But if you're going around and you're judging people for the wrong reasons, such as like, oh, look at that person, like they're terrible, like that kind of thing, and you have no intention of helping them, then you're in the wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, even with this righteous judgment, it's not going to be easy. The conversation is never easy, even if it's someone who wants to hear the truth. It's going to be hard, but sometimes those conversations are necessary, and not all conversations are easy. Now, a question you might be asking is, well, how do I know if I'm able to judge them after my self-assessment? Well, a self-assessment is being honest with yourself, and you really think, am I in the place to call them out for what they do? And there is a little bit of debate there, because at the end of the day, it's not our place to say whether someone goes to heaven or not. There can be a lot of hints and signs, but at the end of the day, God is the judge. But if you're doing it and you're trying to help them, and it's not something you do, so you're not being hypocritical, then those are some things you can look for in your self-assessment. And you also have to think about your own relationship with God. Do I understand what it means to follow him? Do I do what's needed to be done to follow him? And then first, I would say, worry about yourself. Make sure you're in the right place with him, and then worry about others. But before we end today, I just wanted to talk about some personal experiences I've had with calling people out on something that is really harming them spiritually or even just physically. And I have two friends that I've done this to before. And I'm going to be honest, one of them kind of crashed out. I think he knew I was right, but he crashed. And then my other one, he was more leaning towards the truth and stuff and was willing to hear what I had to say, and he was way more open to it, and I made a lot of progress with him. But my first friend, I think with him, it made him realize what he was doing was wrong, but I can't lie, I haven't talked to him for a while, so I don't know how he's doing and stuff, but it's not gonna work every time, and this isn't an easy conversation, but they are necessary ones. Okay, to close off, I just wanted to say thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM or say what you have to say in the comments. Anyways, see you guys.
Bože, rasveti sveti, srpska zemlja kroz oblake leti, leti preko nebeskih visina, krila su joj Morava i Drina. S Bogom prvi nerođeni sine, s Bogom